Yes, I do. I just wanted to say the book, you go to africa101.org. You can order the hardcover, which will be signed, it will be autographed, and it is numbered. I'm only going to sign 5,000 copies. It also is interactive. At the end of every chapter, there is a barcode. You scan the barcode, and you get to watch a video of me talking about that chapter and why I wrote that chapter and what I hope you can get out of that chapter. To join the movement, go to ouraddi.org, ouraddi.org, and join the movement. And while you're there are 4 ways to donate. You can donate to the Operations Fund of ADDI. You can donate to the Women's Empowerment Program, Youth Empowerment, Legacy Program, or the COVID. Do your part. Also, you can go to Amazon and Google Africa 101 on Amazon. You can get the ebook of Africa 101. On that note, I hope you all enjoy the journey of Africa through Africa 101, the wake-up call. And I do hope by the time you finish the book, you will be awoken. And don't keep the book to yourself. Share it and engage in conversations. And I hope UCLA, you could also consider having that book as part of your required reading. And I'll be happy to come visit you when COVID allows us so we can engage in more conversations about our world as well. Africa is an interesting, diverse continent that has so much yet to be learned by the world. And I think engaging the Americans in African languages is one perfect way of making sure that our engagement is indeed complete. We are here today to talk about the book that I wrote after leaving the office as the African Union Permanent Representative to the United States. My mandate was top 2, to engage the US government as well as to mobilize the African diaspora to participate in the development of Africa. Most people are not aware that no amount of money can be put into Africa and bring the desired results. Why? Because the capacity that Africa needs, the expertise that Africa needs is in the diaspora due to the brain drain that has taken place over the past 400 years, starting with the slaves, followed by those who left in search of greener pastures. The overall result is such that the intellectual capacity that Africa needs is in the diaspora. Let me give you an example. Take Edge Healthcare. In Ghana, there are more Ghanaian doctors in New York City alone than in the entire country of Ghana. President Nana Addo, when he took office, he thought building more hospitals, renovating old ones was the way to address healthcare issues. To his surprise, half of those wards are sitting empty. Why? Not because there are no patients, but because there are no doctors. Nigeria is no different. There are more Nigerian doctors in Los Angeles than in the entire country of Nigeria. The same is repeated in every African country, in every sector, engineering, education. All the expertise that's needed to build the Africa we want is in the diaspora. The question then becomes, we have had the colonizers in Africa for centuries. Why is it that we don't see the development that should have been built over the centuries by the colonizers while they were busy siphoning Africa's natural resources out of the continent? What you will find is that the railway lines that were built, the roads that were constructed, were going either from a forest to the nearest port to carry all the deforestation activities that we're taking on, or from the pit to the next port where they were extracting natural resources, minerals, to the nearest port. So the infrastructure they put in place was strategic, basically to serve their purposes, to continue to exploit Africa, to continue to extract out of Africa and take it to Europe to continue to build their own nations. They have never had an interest in building an Africa that works for the Africans. That's a fact. They're aware of it. And it's just that we Africans have not been standing up and and pushing back and saying, that is wrong, you need to stop it. But a lot of it goes back to the history. How did the Europeans come into Africa? How long ago did they come into Africa? And what they have done to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated. So as I was going through my day-to-day work, trying to understand, trying to figure out exactly how am I going to deliver on my mandate, one thing became very obvious to me. It was the lack of understanding of what was really going on in Africa. Even some people in the US government, they had a limited understanding and appreciation of what was going on, let alone the diaspora, even the continental Africans, who you would have thought they would have some idea. But then you also realize, even to this day, African history, we're still using the colonial textbooks. The true African history is not being taught. It's very difficult to find books that tell the truth about what really happened in Africa. The colonizers, when it comes to the atrocities they committed, a lot of the data, the information was either burned. When it was too much, they would fly over the oceans and dump the documents in the deepest waters that they could find. The data was destroyed to make sure that they covered up all the atrocities they committed around the continent. Then you fast forward and say, in modern day, every time I would address the African diaspora, the first question invariably across the board, even when I addressed American businesses, but Ambassador, the African leaders are corrupt. And I would say, yes, but the watchdog, talk to me about other corruptors as well. The watchdogs of corruption are telling us that 50 billion gets out of Africa from corruption every year. I get that. We must stop it. We must go after those monies. Where is the outrage over France taking over $500 billion out of Africa every year? You got two thieves. One thief is holding a briefcase with 50 billion and the other thief has a briefcase with 500 billion. You want me to spend all my energies over 50 billion and completely ignore $500 billion. To my surprise, almost 100% of the time, when I spoke about the pact for the continuation of colonization, which is the pact that the African countries, former French colonies, were forced to sign by the French as the countries were quote unquote getting their independence, included demanding that these countries deposit their bank reserves, starting with 85%, with the Central Bank of France under the control of the French Minister of Finance. So I had my question to the diaspora and all the audiences after speaking to say, I understand the outrage over leadership issues in Africa. I understand the issue of corruption, but where is your outrage over little bitty France taking $500 billion out of our poor African countries year in and year out for 6 decades? And that's when I got the silence. And everybody was shocked. And I would pause and challenge everybody to Google the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. You see, it's one thing to say, here you are, we are giving you your independence. This happened between the late 50s and early 1960s. On one hand, we are giving you your independence. On the other hand, you must sign this document agreeing to continue to be colonized. Are you with me? I need you to sign this document. You're free, but really agree to continue to be colonized. So two countries said, absolutely not. We are not going to sign this deplorable document. That was Guinean money. When the French stormed into those countries, that was back in 1957 for Guinea, and they took everything that they thought they had brought to those two economies. They took whatever they could take, they took. What they could not take, they destroyed. They poured concrete into sewage pipes. They caused total destruction. The president of Ghana, newly appointed Kwame Nkrumah, in his efforts to help those two economies, created the first ever non-union of any African states, Ghana, Guinea, and Mali. It was the beginning of what would have been a free Africa. But what was done to Guinea and Mali was an example to other countries to say, if you do not sign the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization, this is the fate that awaited you. That was the beginning. Since then, we have had a total of 65 coups in Africa. 22 leaders were assassinated. Many others were imprisoned simply because, one, they either were not going along with the demands of the colonial master, or a natural resource had been discovered in that country, and some in the West wanted those natural resources. And then we also had mercenaries who were just going around starting coups for their own personal benefits. Of the 22 assassinated African leaders, 16 are from the former French countries, and the French legionnaires were involved. Well-documented facts. So for those who question to say, why isn't that the Africans and the African leaders in particular haven't done something about what is going on in Africa? The consequences are real. The leaders would be assassinated. The mere fact of talking about trying to stop sending your bank reserves to France would result in the swift action from the French. There would be a coup or some form of instability in your country, and the leader would be eliminated. So after a while, it was just a no-go area. Heads of states could not go there. They could not talk about it. And that was just France. France was the biggest West perpetrator when it came to how France continues to abuse and mistreat its colonies. Two other important aspects of the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. The pact also said, all your minerals discovered and yet to be discovered, French companies have the first right of refusal. All your contracts, public and private, French companies have the first right of refusal. Your military could only be trained by France. Your military equipment can only be purchased from France. France would have military presence in your country. You are not allowed to have military alliance with your neighbors, and that France could invade your nation without notice if France felt that their interests were being violated. Now, if you were to be a leader of one of those African nations, you have given up your financial resources, you have given up your military, you have given up your natural resources. What power do you have? And by the way, after they collected all the 85% of the bank reserves from the 14 African countries, France would deposit those reserves, invest them in their French stock market under the French name. The leaders may or may not know the returns. Should any of those countries need some of the funds they deposited with France, they would have to submit their annual returns, their annual reports to France. And if approved, they could only access 20% of their deposit of last year only. Any other deposit from the previous year, forget it, they're gone. There is no pathway to retrieve those funds. You could only access up to 20% of the previous year's return. And here is the kicker. If approved, you would get the funds as a loan at commercial interest rate. You go from dumping all your money with France. You should really have a huge credit. Not only do you not have any credit based on the funds you've been depositing, but should you need some of your own money, now you have a loan that you got to pay back to France at commercial interest rates.